Good afternoon and welcome to Houston Live and Local here at 2 o'clock. I'm Greg Groogan, a packed hour ahead on tap. A major political announcement this morning from former Houston Mayor Anise Parker. She's ready for a showdown with Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo. State Senator Paul Bettencourt will stop by to talk about the accomplishments, and he had a bunch of them, in the Texas legislature and what it all means for you. And Fox 26 is your World Cup station, and the countdown is on for Houston's role in the Super Bowl of soccer. It all begins 1 year from today. But first, let's go to the weather and our meteorologist, Ramisha Shade, who is here. Ramisha.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. When train wrecks could, they could be tuning in. It could happen at any moment. So anyway.
Yeah, it's an exciting place to be, but at least we're inside. We've gotten through the super heavy rainfall. I don't know if you were caught out in it this morning, but it was pretty bad. Yeah, I was out driving around. Those clouds got really dark, kind of scary looking. Probably looked a lot worse than it ended up being, but the rain was coming down pretty heavily for a while there. So
yeah, we were downtown at the Parker press conference, and everybody's looking up at the sky saying,
like what is going on?
Let's go.
Yeah, it definitely caught your attention. It got dark, the wind picked up, and yeah, kind of went downhill from there for about, a good hour and a half. But then after that, things slowly started to improve. So here's the good news right now. The heavy rain is really starting to shift off to our east, but you will see that area shaded in green north of Houston. That is a flood watch, and that's going to stick around. So even though we're getting rid of this batch of heavy rain, we've still got a flood watch north of Houston that does include Brenham. It also includes the Huntsville area, College Station, until 7 p.m. tomorrow. So that gives you just a hint, an idea that yes, we've got more rain coming. You can see though, the good side of this though, the rain cooled air, 70s right now, 76 degrees in Houston instead of 90s. So that is the positive side of this. So maybe if you can get out there in between heavy downpours, great beach weather, great for a walk on the beach, great pool weather because it's not super hot and steamy. But we do have a little bit of rain left, so let me show you where we have that with our FoxRad radar. Still showing about 29 lightning strikes here, most of that off to the east of our area, but up towards Cold Spring, Shepherd, Cleveland. We'll call this light to moderate rain action right now between Cleveland, Cold Spring, and Livingston. Nothing severe with that, but there will certainly be the potential for some wet roadways out there and maybe some ponding of water on the roads. All right, over towards Navasota, College Station, super heavy rain rolled across your area earlier, but it's mainly just some light showers at this point. And down towards the coast, you can see over towards Beaumont, Nederland, super heavy downpours and likely some flooding issues going on there. It does appear that Beaumont is under a flood warning there. So that is where the worst of the weather is right now, but over into Chambers County, just east of Anahuac, still dealing with a few lingering showers there. So we do remain under a Fox 26 storm alert, and we are going to be dealing with the potential for more rounds of rain. Just from this morning through the afternoon, we've already picked up anywhere from an additional 1 to almost 4 inches of rain. That's on top of all of the other inches of rain we picked up so far this week. So close to 4 inches over towards Edna, 2 to 2.5 inches around Bay City, and right around an inch for Houston, and close to 2 inches over towards Baytown. So it is nice to see that we're getting a break from that rain in H-Town right now. And it's also nice to see, like I said, the 90s, the upper 80s going away for a little bit. That rain cooled air, 76 degrees in Houston, feels like temp 77. You can see that big batch of rain really impacting the eastern portion of the state. So you may be wondering what is coming later today and tonight. Well, we had so much rain and storm action. It's going to take the atmosphere a little bit of time to recover, to regenerate another line of showers and storms. So I think for the evening hours, we may have some quiet time. So it looks like we will get a break from the storms, but notice another big line of strong and severe storms developing back to our west late tonight. That's going to try to push in for tomorrow morning. So it's looking like Thursday morning may be pretty active. So that is what we are concerned about. Round after round after round of rain. And with all the rain that we've had, we are definitely talking about an increasing flood risk. So flood watch north of Houston now, but don't be surprised if that gets shifted farther to the south as we go over the next day or so.
Good for the lawns. tell Mrs. Groogan
Yes.
it's rained all week. You don't need to go out there and put the sprinklers on.
Great for the lawns, great for a nice walk or jog right now. Take advantage of the 70s, but watch out for that next line. Looks like it'll be, like I said, late tonight, early tomorrow morning.
All right. Thanks for keeping an eye on it for us.
No problem.
All right, Ramisha, an update. A good news update. A 10-year-old girl has been found safe in the Tomball area. She had been missing for hours, leading to a search by the Precinct 4 Constable's Office. My good friend Jonathan Mejia is live. Jonathan.
Hey Greg, nice to hear you there at the anchor seat. But yes, positive update to this missing 10-year-old child missing. Her name is Nova Rich. Now, she had gone missing from these Camden apartments here, North Point apartments here, located on the 11700 block of North Point Boulevard. We know that she was missing for hours during the morning. We learned from the deputies that they had canines, they had drones, they had their deputies looking, investigators searching for her, and at this hour they found her safe. They found her with a relative. That's all the information we got. We didn't have much information earlier as to the circumstances of what led her to leave or what led her to go missing. I asked the Harris County Sheriff's Office follow-up questions because we wanted to know, inform the public why we were looking for this 10-year-old girl. But happy update here that she has been found safe and she should be returning home shortly. Reporting live here in Tomball, Jonathan Mejia, Fox 26 News.
Hey, Jonathan, my good friend. Thanks for covering that for us. We'll see you a little later. We're kind of desk mates right over there. I keep an eye. I'm calling him the young gun. The young gun. He's awesome. All right, the Texas legislative session is over and many bills await the signature of Governor Greg Abbott. Here now is our good friend, our long-serving Senator Paul Bettencourt. Okay.
The old gun as opposed to the new gun you just introduced.
People say, Bettencourt's on Fox 26 all the time. And I say, yeah, absolutely, because he gets way more done than anybody else. And this particular session, as I was getting hit by bill after bill after bill after bill that you pushed not only through the Texas Senate, but through the House and onto the governor's desk. Look, I'm going to start where we always start.
Property taxes.
The taxman rules. The taxman rules again. Let's start with a major increase in the homestead exemption up to $140,000, followed by even better news of $200,000 for seniors.
Yeah, this is off the charts exemptions for home and really for seniors and disabled homeowners across the state. We've got a 40% increase in the homestead exemption, which was a record. It's now a super record at $140,000. That's going to save 5.7 million homeowners $484 a year for as long as they own the home, or any home, because it's transferable. But wait, we're not done yet, because the over 65 and seniors get a whopping $200,000 aggregate homestead exemption, which means they're going to save $938 a year for as long as they own the home. But wait, we're not done yet, because a lot of them will pay zero ISD property taxes as supermajority. So it's something I'm really proud of. Lieutenant Governor Patrick's proud of. The entire Senate is proud of these homestead exemption bills, because we've been passing them 30 to 1, really for the last 4 or 5 years. It's great public policy.
Yeah, it was great to see Democrats side by side with Republicans, with the Lieutenant Governor. Carol Alvarado talked about it. I ran that sound. Look, going to 200,000, our good friend Bill King says, this really helps those seniors who live in a modest home and are on a fixed income. They're not going to pay school property taxes anymore.
No, in fact, we've got about 4, because of all the work we've been doing. And we've been doing this, you've been covering this for years, Greg. We've been working up to having a major push to really recognize the fact that if you paid a lifetime of taxes, you should have a break. So we've been helping all homes out. There's about 2 million seniors in the state, and they're going to be, most of them, a supermajority of them, they're literally going to be paying no school taxes after this. And here's the good news: it's going to be in your tax bill in November. So the lower amounts will be there. and the public is going to vote on it. And there's nothing better than seeing that lower number, because people are going to vote yes once they see it. But we've been doing that as a way to give back to the people that need it the most. And here's why, Greg, and I think you've covered this earlier. Silver-haired legislature said the average senior in the state, 80% of them, have only $36,000 of disposable income. So we're giving them back a bill, $1,000, and that's real money, because they don't have to pay taxes on it, and they get to keep that money. And that's the type of work that we need for housing affordability, because you don't want to tax seniors out of their home, and the ISD taxes will be something that will be eye-poppingly good for them when they see this next bill. It's going to be not just 40% of the folks that are not paying taxes. It's going to be well into the 60s, and in some districts like Carol Alvarado's, it's going to be well into the 70s or higher. And she had a great comment. She said, homestead exemptions aren't red, they're not blue, they're green.
Yeah. Well, look, you delivered historic property tax relief and an increase in the homestead exemption in the last session. And like the rest of us, were just astonished, aggravated that it was intercepted to some degree by Harris County leaders who raised taxes $400 million on a loophole that Paul Bettencourt plugged this session.
Right, we did. We took House Bill 30, which is, we file bills of the same in both houses. And because everybody's head blew off when they saw Harris County, leftist progressive majority on Commissioner's Court, increase taxes by $312 per home. That's an enormous amount of money. They did it by driving a Mack truck through the disaster exemption because they claimed Hurricane Beryl caused all sorts of problems. Look, it was a Category 1 storm. There was, unfortunately, minor loss of life and damages, but nothing like Hurricane Harvey, which is what the old disaster exemption was for. And Judge Hidalgo didn't tell the public the truth. She said it was only an 8% increase when you were one of the few stations that reported the truth at 15% because of what's your point. So it barely passed 5149. So that bill flew out of both the House and the Senate. That hole is plugged. Judge Hidalgo made law by making a bad example out of how bad you can raise taxpayers' property taxes.
Quickly, to all of those crazy people out there, and I'm sorry I'm calling you crazy, who want to completely abolish property tax in the state of Texas when we've already abolished the income tax. If we went to a one-pronged system with just state sales tax, what would it be?
It would be 22% for the state and 2% local. It would be 24% sales tax.
So a quarter on every dollar we spent.
Right. Which is impossible. People would be loading up their pickup trucks to Lake Charles, Ardmore, Oklahoma, Texarkana, Albuquerque, any place they could get to, Hobbs, New Mexico for that matter, any place they can get to buy, especially like washers and dryers. It's not a rational way to fix the problem because you would have so much loss of sales revenue. And look, we put in $22.7 billion last session. This is $10 billion. We're really buying down property taxes. In fact, we're carrying $51 billion on the balance sheet right now, every biennium, and it would take $86 billion to wipe them out. So even the $25 billion we're doing a year now pales in comparison of how much you'd have to dig up to wipe out all taxes without a huge tax increase on sales tax.
Okay, you passed so much stuff that we're going to have to do this lightning round. We've got 8 minutes,
Nope.
but it's a full list.
You name them.
Special ed reforms, SB 568.
Really huge. It's one of the biggest bills I've ever passed, okay? Now, why it is because we're rewriting special education that 775,000 families that have issues. We're giving them $850 million to start with, and we're changing the whole system to intensity model. You get an evaluation, and then you get help. It's a huge change for special education families.
No more passing the trash, SB 571.
We plugged a hole. We found that, as usual, there's pedophiles that get into the education system. You have to use neutron weapons to get them out. either by criminal charges or what. Now, if this new bill, if the education the education commissioner says you're a threat, you can be immediately put on the do not hire register and you're gone.
Governor's going to sign that. Virtual education, SB 569.
Already in effect. It's been in effect for several weeks. It's one of the first bills that the governor signed. We had about 58,000 people using virtual ed. This is not the way it happened in COVID. This is good virtual ed. It's not like teaching roomies and zoomies at the same time. I expect in 2 years over 100,000 people will be using it, because if you've got a kid that can study in virtual, they can get ahead and do college credit. So it's another great bill.
All right, moving on. SB 15, affordable housing, reducing the lot size so that young people can buy houses.
Right. Now, we're not just, and we now call it housing affordability.
Okay.
Because people think, oh, if it's affordable housing, it's some type of federal project. No, we're letting the private sector be able to get as small of a lot size as they can in the urban areas, especially, and let them combine it so that they can do housing affordability. And not just that, we've also, the big office towers that are 25% vacant. I passed a bill that cut through the zoning that lets them convert it into lofts. Okay. Oh, wow. Right. And so we've got a whole series of housing affordability bills, including, keeping college towns from basically locking out renters because they're not related to each other. We got a whole bunch of bills. Manufactured housing. There was another bill that Senator Flores had. We had another bill by Senator Hughes as 840 that would allow for new units to be brought into high density units in commercial areas. Yeah, we got to have housing. You can have jobs, but if they don't have anywhere to go, then you got a problem.
Yeah, the dream of home ownership should not be something you're dealing with or achieve in your late 40s.
No, and that's why the number one thing has been to cut the homestead exemption, because once you get a condo or a loft or a home, anything that you can lay title to, you can get that homestead exemption, and that cuts your tax bill down dramatically too.
All this heading to the governor's desk, and some of it already signed. Squatters bill.
Big one, because Lieutenant Governor Patrick said secure Texas against squatters. We had a good civil bill that allows for there to be expedited, get rid of squatters once they're identified. We also had a good criminal bill passed by Senator Hughes as well that lets law enforcement help sort out a problem right at the front end if they can get affidavits. But squatters, we ended up being second in the nation in squatters. So all this talk out there that squatters wasn't real, if these bills weren't needed, was hogwash, because we were actually number 2 in squatter cases in the country.
One of my personal favorites, anti-public corruption legislation.
Oh, boy.
That was HB 2001, but it wouldn't have happened without you.
Well, okay, look, you'd have to be not listening to Fox News 26 and because you've seen all these corruption cases. And these corruption cases are all the same across the state. There are contracts that are worth $10 million or more, like Elevated Strategies, or the healthcare department in Harris County, where the director resigned because of the scandal. And bad things happen, because you know what the criminal penalty was for bid rigging in this state till we pass these bills? Class C misdemeanor. It's a traffic ticket. So all this does, and this is Chairman Myers, who I work with on all the property tax stuff, because he passes my bills and I pass his. He's been trying to get this bill passed for 3 sessions, so I picked it up. We jammed it out of the Senate, because all these are going to be felonies now. And DA Ligon from Montgomery County testified in favor. So did DA Middleton from Fort Bend. And even Sean Tier threw a letter in at the very end, even though they didn't testify. So everybody knows this is a problem. And this is a way to crack down on what is really, really corruption that's run rampant in counties all across the state.
You were at the tip of the spear on some of Lieutenant Governor Patrick's priorities. One that y'all have been fighting for a long time, school choice. Do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, I think, look, the bills that I carried on school choice we actually got out of the Senate were tax credit scholarships last decade. This is a full-blown educational savings account. And it prioritizes kids in need, special education, and then kids, I think, within 200% of the poverty line, which seems like a lot of money until you realize that it's very difficult to live in Austin, even on $146,000 of salary. So There's going to be universal choice, and I think it will work well. And the new comptroller will have to implement it.
Bond reform. Now, it was amazing to me. The argument was made in the Texas Senate. Gutierrez, Royce West, Menendez, all of the Democrats said, we need this. Judges need this discretion. We can't have these predators, out like, as you say, clockwork.
Sure.
I can't do it like
they're out like popcorn on our streets, and they killed almost 200 people.
Democrats were fighting it, then 180. Maybe they can read a poll, huh?
Well, it's kind of 180-ish. It's not really. Now, look, Senator Huffman has tried to get this bill passed for 3 sessions. The bottom line is this. We had leftist progressive judges in Harris County that would not deny bail for any reason, okay? And these are really serious, cases where these are violent threats to families and to society, and predominantly the victims, as Breaking Bond with Randy Wallace here shows, predominantly majority minority families are getting where they're losing their loved ones. Now, we got a strong bill out of the Senate. The strong bill died in the House at 97 votes. It needed 100. We couldn't find 3 more Democrats. I don't understand why the Democrats, especially in Harris County, who was kind of led by Ann Johnson, just want to dig in on this issue so much. You want to give judges the ability to deny bail to violent offenders, because no statistic is more sure than this, that if you let somebody out on a second personal reconnaissance bond on capital murder, they're very likely to go kill again.
Real quickly, PFC reform, and PFCs are public facility corporations, and it sounds like a good idea when they're done right, when 40-50% of the units that get tax abated are actually for low-income families. But that wasn't what was happening, and people were getting ripped off. You changed that, didn't you?
Right. We got through we're working with Representative Gary Gates. We got a strong bill out this time for housing finance corporations. We plugged the PFC hole last time. But again, it's the same MO. This is where government comes in, has a piece of an apartment complex, grants a 99-year tax exemption, which is enormous for the bottom line. We couldn't find any public benefit. This is from Molly Cook to Bob Hall in the Texas Senate. We couldn't find any public benefit because there's no showing where they've actually lowered rents. And Royce West said it best on the floor. He said these HFCs are a sham. So a strong bill passed. The governor signed it. And these traveling HFCs, which are done by 6 small taxing units, which were just pure corruption, have been stopped. But it's an example of how bad things can get off the rail, because once corruption starts, very few people want to stop it. And we stood up to that and made a difference. And by the way, there's almost another 70 bills that you haven't even talked about here.
It was incredible. and I did pretty good. Yeah, one real quickly, and Chris, my producer's killing me.
Okay.
I'm killing him.
Yeah, right back at the
Thumbs
same.
up or thumbs down, does the governor veto the THC ban?
That's up to a higher power. I'm not even sure I know the answer to that. We'll have to all stay tuned. Keep watching Fox News 26 for that answer.
Paul Betancourt, always great to have you. Thanks for your hard work in Austin, okay?
Thank you.
All right, former Houston Mayor Anise Parker is throwing her hat into the ring, and the race for Harris County Judge facing incumbent Lena Hidalgo. She made the announcement this morning. Let's take a listen.
I came down here today and filed my paperwork, designation of treasurer for a race for Harris County Judge in 2026. I expect to win the Democratic primary next March and stand on the ballot in November of 2026. And then I look forward to serving as the next Harris County Judge. I was born here, spent my entire adult life here. I care deeply about what happens in this region, and I'm worried. Harris County government is about law enforcement, it is about public health, it's about movement of water, particularly flood prevention. It's about traffic and transportation, and it's about making it possible for people to live here safely. I have the skill set and the experience to both serve this county and lead this county, and I look forward to doing that. It's a long way to the March primary, and I look forward to having conversations with folks all over Harris County. Yes, I led the city of Houston, and that's about half the voters in Harris County, but I also understand that it is a big county. There are 33 other cities, I believe, and an opportunity to get to know it in a different way. As I said, I've spent my life here, but I've also been out of office for a few years. It's an opportunity to reintroduce myself and to relearn what is critical. But I already know the issues. What I need to know is how those issues impact the neighborhoods, the communities, the cities around the county. And I look forward to that. Questions?
You are potentially facing a two-term incumbent. Judge Hidalgo hasn't announced her intentions next year. How do you differentiate yourself from her?
I have no idea if there's going to be anybody else in this race. At this moment, there is nobody else in this race. And with the chaos in Washington and the continued drumbeat of attacks from Austin on cities and counties across the state, I think Harris County residents need certainty. There's no waffling, there's no hesitation. I'm standing up and saying I'm ready to lead, I'm ready to serve, let's go to work. No question. And you need to ask other folks if they're going to be in the race. What I'm seeing out of Washington, though, is a president who denies climate change. And we know the climate has changed down here and it is affecting our daily lives. They have dismantled FEMA and they've laid off most of the hurricane forecasters. This is hurricane season. We're on our own down here. They're also working really hard to throw people off of Medicare, Medicaid. Harris County Hospital District, right in the line of fire. Everything rolls downhill to local government. And it's going to come faster and harder. We need to be prepared for it. I know that I can do that. And of course the stresses and strains on our public safety folks continue to rise as well. So I don't know who else might be running. Harris County deserves a lot of choices, but I'm going to certainly give them one.
Mayor, if the current leadership are doing a good job, you wouldn't be running. What concerns you most about what's happening at Harris County right now?
I am not running against anybody. I'm running for the citizens of Harris County. I've been out of office for a while. I've been leading a national organization. I left that job in order to rethink where I wanted to spend my time in the future, what I thought the biggest issues were. And for me, I want to make sure that there's strong, capable leadership down here because it's going to get tougher for all of us. I have no idea if the incumbent is going to run or not. Somebody's going to have to ask her.
Mayor, when you were mayor, you were respected for your financial acumen and background. The county imposed a $400 million increase in property taxes, and yet when first responders, our deputies came to the table and said, hey, we need parity with police, the county judge said, we have no money to give you. Does that concern you, the amount of money that's flowed into Harris County, and yet they say they have none?
There is no government anywhere in America that has enough money to do all the things that they want to do. So it's all about setting priorities. And just as I did as mayor with a priority on public safety, you can't have effective law enforcement if you don't pay a fair wage to the people who are doing the work. Now, what that actually looks like on the ground, I wasn't in those rooms, so I don't know what the conversations were. But if you can't recruit officers, you've got to figure out some way to do it, and it's often the money. You can't afford not to pay law enforcement. Public safety, number one priority for any government, but certainly for Harris County. But it's more complicated here because there are independent elected officials who are part of that decision making. It's not just, in the city it's the mayor and council, but here you have independent elected officials, the constables, the sheriff. They have to be part of that conversation. I do believe that there's always opportunities for savings. There's always opportunities for efficiencies. I'm looking forward to being able to look under the hood and search that out.
Up next on Houston Live and Local, we talk the World Cup. It's now just 1 year away. See you in a second. Welcome back. The countdown is officially on. The World Cup is 1 year away, and Houston will be in the spotlight. A kickoff ceremony begins at 3:45 this afternoon at Post Houston. That's where Anthony Antoine, my good friend, and La Reina Carolina Sanchez is live. La Reina. What's going on down there, guys?
Baby, this summer, this whole year, I'm going to be La Reina de Fútbol at Fox 26, baby, next to El Rey, Anthony Antoine. Come on, baby.
Let's go. Listen, we are here. We are 1 year out from the start of the World Cup, right? We have 3 host cities, host countries, I should say. 16 different cities. We have 11 different cities here in the U.S., 3 in Mexico, 2 in Canada. And man, here in Houston, we are going to be the site of a lot of the action. So
Baby,
Houston,
7 matches
lock in,
right
lock
here.
in with me, all right?
Yeah, so, I mean, we're here because the celebration, it has begun many years before today, but today we've got John Arnold, the chairman of the host committee here. We've got the president, Chris Canetti, speaking, and we have a U.S. men's national team legend, Carlos Bocanegra, who's going to be here speaking to build that excitement around the city about this huge tournament that is honestly the world's biggest sporting event, and it's going to be the biggest ever with the 3 host countries. So,
and you know what I'm saying? Like, we were talking, and the average person who may be a little bit passive about soccer may not know too much. You know, they might hear people say, oh, it's like the Super Bowl But it's not.
No.
This is like way past that. We're going to experience that 7 different matches here in Houston. It's going to just absolutely blow everything out the water. And we're expecting so many people here. So give you a quick little pan over, Matt, if you can just pan over here. So this is basically the stage of where everything will be taking place. Like Carolina just mentioned, John Arnold, Chris Kennedy, the mayor is expected to be here as well. They're going to be talking about the updates and where we stand about a year out from the World Cup coming here to Houston. So this will be the site of where everything kind of be laid out for us in just a little bit.
Yeah, and what's exciting about this, guys, is not just for the soccer fans, is that the world is really going to be converging here to the city. So we get to showcase what the Bayou City got for the world. We're about to show them a great time and the amount of dollars that are going to be coming here. Okay?
Yes.
A lot of money, so business owners need to, put their best foot forward and get that cash.
Get yourself together, right?
Get yourself together. And please tune in to Fox 26. On the local, you and I are launching our new show.
That's right. It's going to be every Wednesday.
Yes.
So you guys can keep connected with us.
Houston Soccer HQ.
And we wanted to make it a point not to make this too high-level conversation, right? If you don't watch soccer at all, this is a good opportunity to get at the foundation of it, the ground level. And we're going to kind of teach you everything that you need to know, who are the players you need to know about, the conversation surrounding the sport, so that way by the time we get to the World Cup a year from today, you guys are really going to be involved and ready to go. So it's kind of priming you guys for everything you need.
Soccer fans, sharing all the information. But this Saturday, 3 p.m., we are launching our documentary on Fox 26. It's Houston's Pitch. It's how the city was able to put a bid to FIFA to get the rights to host the World Cup. You better tune in because the drama, baby.
The drama.
They were trying to move the rodeo. What?
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
That ain't happening.
But listen, things get kicked off here at 3:45. We'll be back with you guys later here on the stream, also in your newscast at 5 and 6. So stay connected to us. We'll bring you guys details on what's happening here down at Houston at the Post here and give you an update what's happening 1 year out from the World Cup.
Hey, Anthony, real quick. You know where I sit.
What's up?
So I've got Carolina's credibility back here. I sit right next to the nightcap office. When soccer's on, it's all crazy in there. I'm hearing goal.
Yes, it is.
And so she's legit.
And you're hearing some
other words.
Some other words in Spanish as well.
Absolutely.
Love
I
you,
look forward to
viejo.
watching. Look forward to watching. Thanks, you guys. Okay, let's see where we headed next. Diddy's sex trafficking trial resumed this afternoon. This follows a judge denying his attorney's second request for a mistrial. Sally McDonald spoke with our legal expert, Casey Garrett, about this and has more.
The defense is going to continue to cross-examine this ex-girlfriend of Sean Combs today. Goes by the pseudonym Jane. Casey, what stood out as far as her testimony yesterday?
Sure. It's a lot like Cassie's testimony. I mean, it's very strikingly similar, which is, of course, what the government wants to show, right, was this pattern of his sort of psychological and emotional abuse of these women. So while she admitted that she engaged in these sexual acts to please him and for other reasons, they did do a good job of laying out sort of the psychological abuse that she was going through, similar to Cassie, threats of releasing the videos that he was taking of them. I believe he even threatened to release them to her child's father, which would be, of course, extremely coercive. And so it's a lot of similar testimony as we saw with Cassie's.
The defense got Jane to admit yesterday that she still loves Combs, and we hear that sometimes when women have been abused, but we don't know how the jury took that. Did that play in the defense's favor or the prosecution's favor that she admitted she still loves him?
Well, and that is the ultimate question, right? Is exactly how these jurors are going to be analyzing that kind of thing, because Cassie even admitted as well earlier that she had loving or caring feelings for him, and Jane outright said she still, felt loving feelings for him. But that's really common in these really domestic abuse situations, particularly this psychological abuse, where it's like Stockholm Syndrome. They entered a relationship with him having caring and loving feelings. They developed a relationship, and despite all of that bizarre behavior, those still feelings of love is very typical in domestic abuse situations. I mean, they were together for several years.
Right, yeah, and Jane being the most recent of the
Exactly.
girlfriends. If you were on his defense team, would you put him on the stand here, or what would you do?
Oh, that's a great question. I can't imagine him being able to take the stand. I mean, there's just, we're getting to see, what the witnesses are saying. We have no idea what else is out there, that he could be cross-examined on. That would be a really, really tricky decision and a very strategic decision on the defense's part, but I would be really shocked if he took the stand. There would just be so much to cross-examine him with.
Yeah, definitely would push back past the July 4th deadline that the judge is hoping, to have this thing wrapped up by.
Right.
All right, Casey Garrett, one of our Fox 26 legal analysts, thank you.
You bet,
for the
Sally.
insight.
Good to see you.
All right, not looking too good for Diddy there. If you're behind on your student loan payments, you need to act now before a default goes into place. Here to tell us what steps you can take to get yourself back in good standing is Kate Wood from NerdWallet.
Let's just get a good idea of how many people are suffering from this problem right now. How many borrowers are we talking about who are behind on student loans?
So one thing to clarify, this is only federal student loan borrowers. So if you're someone who has private student loans, this is not affecting you, but it is affecting a really large number of people. There's an estimated 5 million borrowers who are already in default, with another 5 million estimated to go into default this summer.
My goodness, that's a lot. So what happens if those loans go into default?
So when loans go to default status, the consequences are extremely severe. The entire loan becomes due at once. You're no longer eligible for other payment plans, other ways of dealing with it. It's going to have massive impacts on your credit score. One that is especially severe is that you could have your wages garnished or federal benefits withheld. So for example, if you were late filing your income tax return, that return money that you might have been counting on getting could be withheld from you.
Well, it sounds like if it was due immediately, you would have to perhaps take out a loan to pay for your student loan.
Well, this is something that puts people who get into this situation even more in a hole at times, because you go into collections and you are also charged for collections. You start accruing late fees, interest is piling up. So if you are someone who is late with your loan, it's really important to do whatever you can. If you're already at that delinquent status, which means you're more than 90 days late with payment, about 3 months, before you hit default. So that's 270 days for federal loans, about 9 months. If you are already delinquent, it is vital that you contact your student loan servicer. That's the company that bills you for your student loan, to find out what your options are so that you can avoid any further financial damage.
Yeah, it sounds like they got to do a lot of homework to try to take care of this immediately. You can't just ignore it and pretend it's not happening, because it's very real. So what about anybody who might be enrolled in that SAVE program?
So this is not going to affect people who are on the SAVE plan, which is a plan that's been in legal limbo for almost a year now. So folks who are on that repayment plan don't have any payments due. They're in an administrative forbearance. So because of that, they are put off from any of these consequences as of now.
So your best advice for anybody dealing with this, just go into your account, check where you are, and just take care of business immediately.
Absolutely. It's a stressful situation to be in, but it's important to empower yourself by knowing what your status is. Log into studentaid.gov, look at your loan status, find out who your servicer is, go to your servicer's website, check that out, and also be especially vigilant against scams. This is the kind of situation where there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of tension, a lot of fear. This is something that scammers are likely to exploit. So if someone reaches out to you making promises about getting rid of your debt or changing your repayment plan, make sure that you do your research before you work with them.
Okay.
All right, keeping your home cool this summer, what you need to know about the new coolant for your AC. That's next. Welcome back. We've got more news you can use. The EPA is requiring a new, more environmentally friendly refrigerant for new air conditioning units. But if you have an older unit, it's going to affect you too. Consumer reporter, my friend Heather Sullivan, explains what you need to know.
You may have heard that the EPA is requiring a new, more environmentally friendly refrigerant for AC units, particularly new AC units this year, but it can really affect you whether you're getting a new one or you have an older one. So we have got Joe Bainey with John Moore Services here to explain what's happening. Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And we've got examples here because this is the previous kind of refrigerant that we've been using.
Yep.
And this is the new one.
Correct. 410A, it's currently what is in most of our homes now. There's a really old refrigerant that a few people have still, R22, but those units are going to be 20 plus years old, right? So the majority of our equipment has the 410A in it. The new refrigerant is a 454B.
Okay. So what do we need to know if you're putting in a new system?
So if you're putting in a new system now, you still have a couple of choices, right? And so the new regulations rolled out that no 410A equipment could be manufactured after January 1st.
Okay.
So January 1st, they switched over. All the manufacturers are making the new equipment. Okay. There is still, inventory in stock of the old equipment, and we can absolutely install that and take care of minor, replacement parts until that inventory runs out. Okay. Once it runs out, I can't get you a new condenser. I can't get you a new coil. I can make minor repairs to it because repair parts will be available. I can do a fan motor or a compressor. But if you've got a leak in the system, I can't do anything. Now you're talking about new equipment completely, which means not one piece. It means at least two, maybe three if your furnace doesn't match also. So it could be complete.
Okay. So that's where people who have an older system may hit a snag. And so you're telling folks, particularly if you have an older system, it might be time to just go ahead and replace it.
Absolutely. You've got a way. There's a couple of different things there. First of all, 454B equipment is more expensive, right? And so it also requires a bigger job if I'm going to completely replace. I'm going to have to take everything out and put all new in. And so I can go 410A. I can replace either the condenser or the coil because they match up. The refrigerant's the same. And I'm able to use the furnace. And so if somebody has told you, hey, you've got a problem, you've got an issue, you're leaking, or you recharged your system last year and it was only a little leak, because there's a lot of people that just get by with these little repairs and I'll take care of it next year. Well, next year you're going to go from having to fix one thing, which is available now, to having to replace everything.
Okay, this was great information. Joe Bainey with John Moore Services. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, in Houston, Heather Sullivan, Fox News.
Yeah, great information there. Hey, look, it's a growing trend on social media here in Houston. Users of social media will trespass abandoned buildings and post about it online. That includes, turns out, the eighth wonder of the world, as Fox 26's Jonathan Mejia found out.
I'm outside the historic Astrodome. This is where the Astros played, the Oilers played, and even the Houston Rodeo used to take place. But today, it's an abandoned building, and users on social media are coming, trespassing, then posting it online. In the video posted on social media, garnering more than 100,000 views, a user is seen inside the Astrodome. While he is citing its historical meaning, being inside is unlawful. NRG Park told Fox 26, "We strongly discourage anyone from attempting to enter NRG Park without a ticket to an event or a legitimate purpose. Unauthorized entry is strictly prohibited and will result in prosecution to the full extent of the law." This is an issue that the Harris Constable with Precinct 1 are seeing. They arrested 3 men for sneaking into the Astrodome. A security guard spotted the intruders shortly after midnight and contacted deputies. The 3 18-year-old suspects were seen running across the parking lot and jumping fences near the intersection of Fannin and Holly Hall, where they were taken into custody by deputies. All 3 suspects are being charged with trespassing. Reporting outside the Astrodome, Jonathan Mejia, Fox 26 News.
What do you know? It's National Corn on the Cob Day, and I think I hear some shucking going on. We'll be back in a second. Welcome back. We're celebrating the kernels on this National Corn on the Cob Day. Our friends in Austin tackled corn shucking at an HEB. See what happened.
Ah, shucks. Was that corny? It's time for keeping score.
I hate you. Yes, we're celebrating National Corn on the Cob Day. It's Wednesday, June 11th.
Yes.
And what better way than to shuck some corn?
Yes, and we're here at HEB. We're going to see who can do it the fastest, who can peel the most in 1 minute.
Yes.
We've got Keldon here, who is going to judge us at the end and help time us. So with that being said,
good luck.
We'll get started.
Oh.
Right. 3, 2, 1, go.
And Libby is an Indiana girl, so she might have a bit of a. This is way more work than I thought it would be. And there's all this hair. You're not supposed to have too much hair. Okay.
Those are both clean.
Yeah? All right. Oh my gosh.
The way to do it, you peel it and then you kind of just.
Oh my gosh. All right.
All right, 30 seconds.
I don't know.
How much? Oh, yikes.
20 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Growing up, I started first doing this probably at the age of 5.
Oh, this is the water. It's fine.
What do we got, Keldon?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. So we had a tie. So to break the tie, we're gonna have Adelaide and Libby both shuck a corn, one corn. Whoever finishes it first is the winner.
I do want to say, mine looked really good. Adelaide did have her knob still on, so.
Yes, but one of my other one was peeled a little bit more, and luckily you're not the judge. He is. Or else I would have lost.
True. All right, all right.
I got the giggles all of a sudden.
All right.
It's not a time to laugh.
3,
You're making me laugh.
2, 1, go.
Okay. Ah! How do I know when all the this is?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Let's see. Full spin. I'm gonna go with Libby on this one.
Thank God. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're behind and kind of threatening him, right?
I think there's a little left on that one. A little cleaner corn on the other one.
She's got a fro, but.
Okay.
Thank you for picking me. Thank you for picking me. I've.
Not a pity point. Nope.
I'll take
it.
it.
So you're admitting it should have maybe been a tie?
No, but I do think you did. You had your knobs on there. I had no knobs.
I did.
That was a party foul. You can't have that.
No, and you know what? She's the indie girl. She gets the corn. She gets the point today.
Thank you. I really needed this.
You only need 8 more, and then we'll be even again.
I'm on track to be a star.
Well done, ladies. All right, thanks for being with us for this hour of Houston Live and Local. Another half hour is coming up. Stay with us. Good afternoon and welcome back to Houston Live and Local. I'm Greg Groogan. All right, it's 3 o'clock and on tap this half hour, Governor Greg Abbott is preparing for potential violence in Texas over ICE detentions, and he's already calling in the National Guard. And we're going to talk about caring for your elderly loved ones and how tough that can be. The help available up in Kingwood is going to be on tap for us. And gearing up for the World Cup, Houston is getting ready to take center stage exactly 1 year from now. But first, more rain and storms out there. Let's check in with the super smart, super stylish, super skilled meteorologist Ramisha Shade. And that's all from the heart.
Thanks for all the nice compliments. Thank you.
Got it.
All right. Well, of course, you know, we are dealing with a lot of rain. Several rounds of rain this week. I know you said you were out there trying to get your work done. You looked up and boom, the clouds are getting dark and the heavy downpours rolled in. So we're getting a bit of a break right now, but what's in store over the next 24 hours? Enjoy the break. Enjoy the briefly cooler temps because changes are once again on the way. We do have a flood watch for some of our northern counties. So I do want to talk about the difference between a flood watch versus a flood warning. So if you are under a flood watch, that means conditions are favorable for flooding. So you certainly need to be prepared to take action, but you're not under an immediate danger or an immediate risk at that point. But for a flood warning, that means that flooding will likely start occurring or is occurring and you need to seek shelter very quickly. So we do have the potential for a flood warning to be issued over the next 24 to 36 hours. But for now, we do have the flood watch that you can see north of the Houston area. So it does include Washington County, Grimes County, Walker County, and we also have that flood watch area that includes Trinity and Madison counties as well. So you can see College Station, Navasota, Brenham under this aerial flood watch through 7 p.m. tomorrow. Notice the big round of rain that rolled across the Houston, Katy, Pearland, Galveston, Woodlands area this morning through the early afternoon. And now it is almost gone. We just got a few light rain showers still popping up around Montgomery and Harris counties over towards Conroe, Willis, few light rain showers there, New Waverly up towards Huntsville, but nothing that's going to cause any tremendous flooding at this point because that's mainly light rain. However, we are expecting more of these rounds of rain to roll in as we go through the next couple of days. Still dealing with a few showers persisting in eastern Chambers County, just east of Anahuac, but nothing that is super heavy. I do want to point out, though, that flash flood warning still going on for the Beaumont area. So big flooding issues going on there because they picked up around 3 inches of rain just from this morning's round of rain. So we've got problems all across Southeast and East Texas with this flood risk, heavy rain, strong storms. Right now we are getting a break, but like I said, Beaumont already picking up close to 3 inches of rain through this morning and the afternoon. Bay City around 2 to 2.5 inches. In the Woodlands around 1 to 1.5 inches. So what's in store for the rest of today, the rest of the week? We are still under a Fox 26 storm alert through Thursday. Next big round of rain and storms should arrive for the Thursday AM rush. So that is the bad news. We're going to have to deal with a very slow, possibly dangerous commute for tomorrow morning as models are indicating super heavy rain and strong storms over the area. So what do you need to do? Stay alert and keep track, of course, on our free streaming app, Fox Local. Make sure to download it if you haven't already. All right, right now we are looking good out there. Still cloudy, 78 degrees, heat index a little bit higher, 81. But typically this time of the day, it's a little bit after 3 p.m. We're normally closer to 89, 90 degrees or even hotter than that. So 78, 77 degrees, definitely feeling refreshing out there due to that rain-cooled air. I want to get to our Fox weather model, our exclusive Fox weather model, showing more showers and storms lining up back to our west. This is tonight. I think this evening, just a few showers, but early Thursday morning, 5 a.m. Look at that. Boom, right over us. We've got more heavy rain rolling in. 8 a.m., it's still persisting. That means likely the flood threat increasing. That flood watch could get extended farther south into the Houston area. Even by lunchtime at noon, more heavy rain finally starting to wind down to just some spotty downpours by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So another big round of rain tomorrow morning will mean still a high flood risk. So this is through Thursday morning. Notice Navasota, Brenham, Huntsville, right on the edge of that red. That is an unusual 3 out of 4 moderate risk for flooding. So that's at least a 40% shot for flooding to occur over the next several hours, especially tomorrow morning. Still the chance for a few severe storms as well. I think the biggest risk though will be for the flooding, but some of those storms early tomorrow morning could produce some hail and some 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So Greg, just over the next 1 to 2 days, this model indicating anywhere from an additional 2 to 5 inches of rain. So you know what that means for H-Town roads. It doesn't take much to flood. We've already had several rounds of rain this week, and it's not going to stop.
My one-word description, soggy.
Soggy,
hey,
yes.
Quick question. How are we doing on rainfall so far this year? It seems soggy, or we've had a lot. Do you know, if
well,
not,
it's been kind of off and on, so it kind of evens out. We're not extremely above our average, but, we've had our breaks where we start to go into drought conditions. We've had our soggy conditions, but let's just keep kind of timing it out. Dry time, a little wet time, but for this week, we've had enough rain. We need a break, and hopefully maybe by the end of next week or middle of next week, we'll start to get somewhat of a break. But through Father's Day weekend, still looking pretty soaked. So if you got plans with Dad, out on the golf course, other plans outdoors this weekend, plan on a 50-50 shot. It's still at least a 50% chance for those heavy downpours.
Good stuff. We'll try to stay dry.
Yes.
All right, breaking news out of the entertainment world. Brian Wilson has died. He was the eldest member of the Beach Boys. Fox's Julie Banderas takes a look back at his life and his music.
He was the Beach Boy behind California Girls, Good Vibrations, and Surfin' USA. Brian Wilson was born on June 20th, 1942, in Inglewood, California. At age 3, Brian could sing on key to his mother's piano playing. The self-taught sopranist preferred to learn music by listening to records. However, at age 11, an examination revealed he had suffered significant hearing loss in his right ear. Wilson later said his condition was the result of years of abuse from his father. In 1959, Wilson enrolled in junior college, but dropped out after a year to pursue his passion for music. Brian and his 2 brothers, Carl and Dennis, decided to form a band. They asked good friends Al Jardine and Mike Love to join, and in 1961, the Beach Boys were born. The first single, Surfin', rose to number 75 on Billboard's singles chart, and Capitol Records immediately signed the group. In 1963, Brian met Marilyn Rovell from the pop trio The Honeys. The two fell in love and were married a year later. They had 2 daughters, Carney and Wendy. In 1966, the Beach Boys released Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations, both written and produced by Brian. In 1974, the Beach Boys released another #1 album, Endless Summer, and were riding the wave of success. However, offstage, Brian struggled with his newfound fame and developed a serious addiction to drugs and alcohol. His marriage suffered as well. In December of 1983, brother Dennis died tragically in a drowning accident in California. In 1986, his life and career got back on track, and 2 years later, the Beach Boys were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 1995, Brian found love again, this time with former model Melinda Ledbetter. Wilson made a comeback in 1998 and continued to make music through 2008. Brian Wilson's moving lyrics and catchy melodies swept his listeners away. Julie Banderas, Fox News.
Rest in peace. This story continues to develop out of northeast Harris County. A child was hit and killed by an SUV while riding a bicycle. Authorities are still looking for that driver. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman, my friend, has the update.
Hey everyone, this is Jillian Hartman for Fox 26. Right now we are following up on a tragic story that happened last night. A 12-year-old boy was hit and killed while riding his bike here along Suburban Road. This happened just before 10 o'clock. The Harris County Sheriff's Office says that the boy was riding his bike on the sidewalk there across the street when a dog came out and approached the boy, and the boy lost control of his bike and actually fell into the roadway and was struck by a car, and that boy passed away. Now, we just got an update from the Sheriff's Office. They say the boy's name is Zachariah Benjamin. Again, he was just 12 years old, and right now they are looking for the driver of that car that hit him in this accident. They say that the car is a black Chrysler 300 model range 2015 to 2023. So right now the Sheriff's Office is looking for that driver. Again, a very tragic story that we're following up on. They say they do have surveillance video of what happened, and right now there's an ongoing investigation. Again, right over here, the boy was riding his bike and then fell onto the road after being approached by a dog, losing control of his bike, and then being hit by a car. So we are working to get more information, and I'll have an update tonight at 5 and 6 here on Fox 26.
All right, Jillian. As ICE protests continue to spread across the country, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is activating the National Guard. They have been called to San Antonio, where demonstrations against the immigration crackdown are planned, some tonight. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg addressed the protest saying, quote, "Destruction is never appropriate, nor will it be tolerated. Exercise your right to free speech, but keep it peaceful and lawful." Now, here in Houston, protests are set to take place on Saturday. Fox 26's Abigail Dye breaks down where you could see demonstrators hitting streets.
These loosely organized demonstrations are set to take place in Houston, Sugar Land, Katy, Cypress, Kingwood, the Jersey Village area, and Conroe. Now, according to the No Kings website, these events are set to take place in some pretty busy areas. One at Houston City Hall from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That means this area of Bagby, McKinney, and Smith could be densely populated. In Sugar Land, the protest is planned at Town Center from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. That's right off 69 and Highway 6, so that means the area with Town Center Boulevard could have a lot of traffic. In Katy, the protest is also set to happen at City Hall from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. That means the Avenue C, D, 2nd and 3rd Street could be congested. These other protests are in Cypress from 10 a.m. to noon, Kingwood from 9:30 to noon, and Conroe from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. You can find all of the exact addresses for these on fox26houston.com, where you can also find response from law enforcement agencies in these areas who say they're planning accordingly. The governor's office even weighed in. For Fox 26 News, I'm Abigail Dye.
Okay, everybody, Father's Day is quickly approaching, and many dads are being cared for by their children and loved ones. It can be a challenge, just ask my kids, especially when that father is dealing with dementia or limited mobility. Here now is Kristen Royal with Ride at Home in Kingwood. Hey, Kristen, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, Ride at Home was founded 30 years ago. Tell us more about it.
Well, our corporate location started in 1995 in Omaha, but my dad and I actually started the Kingwood location almost 20 years ago. So in 2006, we began after my dad was trying to care for his mother, my Granny Lucy. And we just realized that there weren't enough resources in our community available to help people who were trying to work and care for their loved ones.
Wow, it seems to be working. You're still around.
20 years next year, so we'll be celebrating a big anniversary.
Hey, you run the business with your dad.
I do.
Tell us about that relationship.
It's really great. So we've been working together for 19 years, and we get to spend so much time together, so much more time than we would have if we each had independent careers. And we really just both have a mission for helping people, helping our community. So it's been a great way to live life and to help those around us.
Can you think back? I'm putting you on the spot. A little story that happened that kind of highlights the relationship you have with your dad.
Oh, absolutely.
Too many?
No, a lot over 19 years, absolutely. But one I think that really just hits the mark was a couple years in, Hurricane Ike hit. And we had a lot of damage. We had a tree fell on my parents' house. We lost power for almost 2 weeks. Our office sustained damage. And yet all of that time, we're still providing care because there are people in the community that need us. So we had caregivers who were working with clients through the hurricane, through the power outages for 2 weeks. And we're running our business out of my parents' house from a rotary landline because it was the only thing that was working at the time. And just checking on our clients, checking on our caregivers. And it really solidified that we're doing the right thing, that we're in the right business. We're helping our community. We're helping people with jobs that really mean things. And just serving others. I think that solidified that passion that now 19 years later, we're still going strong.
Hey, Kristen, how important is getting the right help for those parents facing dementia and other disabilities? When is the right time to reach out?
I think it's as soon as you start noticing any small changes, because those become the big changes and the big red flags. So knowing your dad and knowing what he's typically like, and then is there changes in his behavior? Are there changes in his food? Is he not eating as much or not eating as frequently? Is he missing appointments or not taking medication like they're supposed to? It may be a good time for you to have somebody come in and provide some additional support.
Yeah, I have a disabled son. No, a son challenged with a disability. He's on the autistic spectrum, and we always say it's a marathon. And so you have to balance all that stuff with solid help from people who know how to help.
Correct.
Hey, look, how can people learn more about Right at Home?
So we are located in the Kingwood area, but we have locations all over Houston and all over the nation. You can go to rightathome.net, type in your zip code, and it will pull up one of the locations that's closest to you.
Okay, I got a little more time here, so I'm going to throw the hot surprise question. If you could go back those 20 some odd years and do something different, any regrets?
Absolutely not. No, we've impacted so many people in our community, both providing meaningful work, but also being able to let people continue their lives with a little bit of help and independence at home.
See, I'm glad I asked that. Kristen, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for all you do, okay?
Thank you.
All right, guys, how do you know if sports memorabilia you see is the real deal and not phony? That's next. welcome back. You know, sports betting can be exhilarating and frustrating, and sometimes people cross the line. When that happens, it may be a sign of addiction. Dr. Asim Shah from the Menninger Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Baylor is here to explain.
True. And, you know, sports addiction is very common. It's getting more and more common, unfortunately.
So first and foremost, maybe the signs that people should look out for, you know, when they're looking at their loved ones, and it could be dealing with a sports addiction. What does that look like?
Sure. And overall gambling has been increasing in the society, and so is sports addiction. So when you're looking at the signs can be many, including increased accessibility, because now we are getting more and more things which are kind of accessible, which are gambling. It's more convenience. It is more accepted in the society that people are doing these things. Stigma has been reduced. Online platforms have been available. There are a lot of legalized sports betting people are doing. And even these gamblings are present in your video games. Society's perception has decreased for these, that they are shifted. There's faster pace of gambling. There's also a little bit of genetic predisposition. Also, if you think about it, people get a little bit of increase in dopamine, which is a pleasure sensation when you do these things. So a lot of these things increase your addiction for gambling and sports gambling. And this is sad that it's increasing, and it's getting more and more, unfortunately.
How often do we see violent reactions like this one when it comes to sports gambling?
Yeah. If you think about it, all gamblings, especially sports gamblings, are associated with drug use, substance use, alcohol use, and mental illness. When you combine all of that, when people use substances and alcohol, violence can result, because of course when you are under the influence of drug and alcohol, violence can result in that. And that is, of course, how common? It could be easily 10 to 20%. Usually mental health patients are about 5% violent, but when you combine alcohol and drug, it could multiply to 3 times. So 5 can multiply by 3 times, can be easily 15%.
So let's talk about treatment options here for a second. What do those look like?
Yeah, there are treatment options available. So let's start with the favorite, which is the 800 numbers. There is the 800 number, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537. You have psychotherapy available for gambling, which is cognitive behavior therapy. Self-help groups are available. Medications are also available. We have pretty good medications now available, such as opiate receptor antagonists like naltrexone, nalmefene. Antidepressants also help with gambling, like Lexapro or escitalopram and paroxetine. And certain mood stabilizers also help, like lithium and valproic acid. So there are certain things which are available. I guess the key is that if you know somebody who is struggling with gambling addiction, let them be seen by a professional. And when I say gambling addiction, the signs and symptoms of gambling addiction will be frequent thoughts about gambling, repeated and successful attempts in terms of controlling or cutting back or stopping gambling, needing to gamble with increased amount of money or, putting money in that, restlessness, irritability, lying to family members about gambling, and trying to get back your lost money by gambling again. So chasing your losses. So when you see somebody like that, get them some professional help.
Yeah.
All right, from sports gambling to sports memorabilia, how do you know if you're getting the real deal on the merchandise? Fox's Joe Morgum tells us how.
Some of the popular items that sold at auction in 2024, Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 home run ball, the jersey that Babe Ruth wore when he called his shot in the 1932 World Series, and a Tom Brady rookie card. The winner of that auction was Patriots owner Robert Kraft, whose winning bid was $120,000. With any piece of memorabilia, part of the process of determining its value is authentication. Companies like PSA, JSA, and Beckett authenticate cards, autographs, and memorabilia. And at least one company that produces cards is also helping collectors authenticate. Rookie Patch autograph cards and Upper Deck's The Cup hockey set contain QR codes that collectors can scan.
And get 16 images of the card as it was issued from Upper Deck to verify these high-value cards. What is the original patch that was in the card? What is the original signature? We've seen people where they're wiping off the signature and having it re-signed. to verify the serial number and to verify the card as a whole as it was issued from Upper Deck.
Upper Deck President Jason Mashara says someone might want to replace the patch on the card with one that's more colorful and wipe off the signature if it's not perfect and get the player to re-sign it. So the system allows collectors to see multiple images of the card as it was originally issued. The sports memorabilia market was valued at $33 billion last year. It's expected to grow to an estimated $271 billion in 2034. In Los Angeles, Joe Morgan, Fox News.
Yeah, 1 year from now, Houston will shine as part of the World Cup. You could call it, hey, a lot of folks call it the Super Bowl of soccer. A live look now over at Post Houston, where a special celebration will begin at 3:45 to mark the 1 year, 1 year mark until the World Cup. Fox 26, don't forget, is your World Cup station. Our Anthony Antoine and Carolina Sanchez on the ground there at Post Houston. We'll hear from them throughout the afternoon. The World Cup will be played here in the U.S. as well as Mexico and Canada. It will be the largest edition in the tournament's history, expanding to 48 teams competing in 104 matches over 39 days. The U.S. men's national team is already qualified for the tournament and will play all 3 of their group stage matches on home soil. Hey, thanks for being with us today on Houston Live and Local. It wasn't a train wreck. We did okay. Caroline and Rashi are up next. Then it's Texas Live and Local ahead at 4. I'm Greg Groogan. Enjoyed being with you.